This chapter concerns the systematic search of your systematic review. A systematic search is a comprehensive and structured approach to identifying all relevant studies on a particular topic. It is a defining feature of systematic reviews. It's what makes them, well, partially at least, makes them systematic, in that the search is not just a one-off thing we did on Google. It's more of a very much defined procedure of finding everything relevant. The first thing you want to do is figure out keywords that you're going to use when searching. And it's helpful to go back and use this PICO framework again. So for each letter in the PICO framework, you think about, well, what are the keywords in terms of natural language? So it could be university students or college students or students, etc., for the population. For the intervention, it might be digital, telehealth, etc., etc. So you think about the words that come to mind when you think about the different letters in the PICO framework. You also have to think about, you're an expert in your field, so you know what kind of words are typical in this research field, and you want to include those keywords. Different databases will also have controlled vocabulary terms. These are not just natural language, but actually tags of research. So in PubMed, we have something called mesh terms. For instance, there's a mesh term for randomized controlled trial. And so these are specific keywords that you want to use as well that might fit into your research question. Here, it's very important to get help from your colleagues or librarian to make sure that you really found all the keywords necessary to find all the research that pertains to your research question. It's typically not enough to just go into one database and look for literature. You want to go through multiple sources. PubMed is something that most of us are familiar with in medicine and health, but there's also Scopus, Web of Science, etc. There are subject-specific databases like PsycInfo for psychology and so on. And so you should really broaden your search to include as many databases as possible. These will overlap. So studies or reports will exist in PubMed and in PsycInfo, but not always. They don't always completely overlap. So it is important to search wide. You might also want to look at gray literature that is non-academic publishing sources. Could be dissertations, clinical trial registries, government reports, conference proceedings, and so on. And then you also typically want to make sure that you include a search of the citations and references of the studies that you include. So say you include study A, you go to that report and look through the references and see, did they cite something that is actually important for my review that I haven't included before?